Welcome back. So far in this chapter, we have already discussed the definition of the price elasticity of demand. We also used the examples to figure out how to calculate the elasticity, right? And in the previous video, we also discussed the five classifications of the demand curve, right, from the perfectly inelastic one to perfectly elastic one, right? And here in this video, we're going to talk about how this knowledge about the demand curve or the shape of the demand curve could help us make a pretty good business strategy, okay? More specifically, pricing strategy. In other words, when you come up with a new product, you would like to know that, how are you going to price it properly, okay? So that it can maximize your benefit, right? Or if it's an existing product, then if you want to raise the price or lower the price, how that's going to affect your revenue, right? So that's what we are going to talk about in this video, okay? The pricing strategy. Now, to be able to talk about that, we have to understand the relationship between the price elasticity of demand and total revenue, okay? So here, we're going to see that what happens to the total revenue, TR, if the price rises. Now, remember here we talk about the price rises, but you can definitely look at what's going to happen when the price falls. Okay, actually, I would strongly recommend you, after checking out this video, you come back here and try all of this uh, the conclusions when the price falls. Okay, that's a pretty good way to practice your understanding, okay, of the knowledge. All right. So the total revenue TR equals P times Q. P is the revenue per unit of your product, right? Q is the units of the product sold. Okay. So the product here um, uh, would be the total revenue. Now, when a price increase, um, there are two effects on the total revenue. The first one is when you increase the price, then you're going to receive more money from your customers for each unit of the product that they purchase, right? That's going to boost your total revenue. So, for example, if you're selling cheeseburgers, okay, so each cheeseburger is priced at $4. Now, if you want to raise the price from $4 to $5, then by selling each cheeseburger, you're going to receive one more dollar. Okay, that's going to be an increase of your total revenue, correct? But don't forget, when you raise your price, you're going to drive some customers away, right? They probably would go to a different restaurant, or they probably even try other things like, hamburgers, hot dogs, pizzas, right? So you also would face the risk of, lowering your revenue, okay? Because the quantity being sold is going to be lower, all right? So here you would find that there are two effects, and they are, offsetting with each other, right? So we would like to know which of the two effects is bigger, okay? Now, of course, this is gonna depend upon the price elasticity of demand. In other words, it depends upon the shape of the demand curve, okay? So here we're gonna do the graphical analysis to demonstrate this point, okay? Now, here on the screen, you would find this light blue curve is a downward sloping demand curve, okay? And the vertical axis is the price, horizontal axis is the quantity, okay? So this is a pretty, regular general case. And we just arbitrarily pick one point on the demand curve where you find the price is $4 and the quantity here is 100. Okay. Once again, that's the numbers we arbitrarily pick. Okay. Um, so you should be quite familiar with these because back in chapter 4, right, and even chapter 6, we already spent a lot of time, talking about this supply and demand, right? The diagram, I mean. Uh, but what we didn't talk about before is, this orange box you see on the screen actually represents the total revenue. Because remember, the height here is the price, $4. The length of the box is the quantity being sold, right? Or the quantity that your customer are willing and able to buy, right? So the product 4 times 100 will give you the area here of the orange box. The economic interpretation of that area is your total revenue, right? Price times quantity. Now, let's consider two different cases when you want to increase your price. The first case here is a relatively inelastic demand. Okay, remember we mentioned before that if the demand is inelastic, the demand curve tend to be steep. Okay, so that's why here you find a relatively steep demand curve. Now, once again, you used to charge your customers $4 per cheeseburger, right? So here, this box, the orange box, shows your total revenue here. Okay, it's going to be $4 times 100, so it's you received $400, right? Now you consider raising your cheeseburger price from 4 to 5. So here you would find that some customers are gonna walking away, right? They're gonna choose something else or some other places. So that's why your quantity demanded falls from 100 to 90. Okay. Now in this small box here, B actually shows how much revenue you are going to lose because you raise your price. Okay. So once again, you used to sell 100 cheeseburgers. Now at a higher price, you can only sell 90. Okay, for example. Then the quantity demanded drops by 10. Okay, but remember, each cheeseburger used to sell at $4. So your potential loss of the revenue is going to be $4 times 10, right? Then here the area of this small box B is going to be 40. Okay, 4 times 10 gives you 40. So that's going to be your lost revenue when you raise your price. Okay, but at the same time, each cheeseburger you sell, you're going to make more money, right? One more dollar. So that is on the graph, the box A here, the purple box A. Again, the price here, the price increase is $1, and the quantity here that you can sell at the new price, the higher price, is going to be 90. So the area of this purple box is going to be 90 times $1. So you're going to receive 90 more dollars. Okay. Now, here, putting these two together, you're gonna receive 90 more dollars because of the higher price per unit. At the same time, you're gonna lose $40 because of the lower quantity demanded. So on net, it's gonna be 90 minus 40. So your total revenue will go up by $50. Okay, so that's why here it says that total revenue rises from 400 to 450. In other words, in this case, where demand curve is inelastic, it is a good idea to raise your price, okay? Because you can actually achieve a higher level of total revenue, okay? Now, the economic interpretation or the intuition here is because the demand is inelastic, as we said before, your customers are relatively um, less sensitive to the change in price. Okay, so we saw here the quantity demanded falls, but just a little. Okay, not a lot. So overall, you would find that the customers choose to keep purchasing your cheeseburgers are going to give you more revenue than what you lose. Okay, so it is a good idea to raise the price here. All right, let's look at the second case, which is the relatively elastic case. And that's why here you see the demand curve gets flatter. Okay. Now, we're going to stick with the same example, raising the cheeseburger price from 4 to 5. Okay. So here in this case, you would find that the box B gets much larger. Again, the intuition is your customers becomes very sensitive to the change in price. So when you raise the price, you're going to lose many of them. Okay, so in this case, the quantity demanded falls from 100 to 70. Okay, it decreases by 30. So the area of the box B is $4 times 30. You're going to lose $120. Okay. At the same time, with the higher price, the extra revenue you're going to get is $1 times 70. So you're going to receive 70 more dollars because you raised your price. Okay. All right. On that, what we're going to see $70 minus 120, right? Remember that's a decrease, so it's minus. Then we get negative $50. In other words, when you face a pretty sensitive buyers on the market, and if you want to raise your price, then you're gonna lose your revenue. Okay, so that's why here it says that the total revenue falls from $400 to $350. Remember, the decrease is going to be $50 as we just discussed. Okay, now putting these together, the conclusions we already found is if you want to raise your price, your total revenue is going to rise when demand is inelastic, okay? Or using the mathematical way we learned from the previous video, the price elasticity of demand is less than 1, okay? That means it's inelastic. Then you're going to receive more revenue from the market, from your customers. Vice versa, your total revenue is going to fall when your demand is elastic. In other words, the price elasticity of demand is greater than 1. Okay. All right. But here I got to say that there's no need to memorize these conclusions. Okay. What I would suggest you to do is to follow the reasoning, the graphical analysis we did on this video. Okay. And then you can deal with any kind of the situations. For example, at the beginning of the video, we said that it's a good practice for you to try lower the price, okay, and then use the inelastic demand curve and the elastic demand curve and figure out what's going to happen to the total revenue. Okay, once again, please do not memorize the conclusions because on the problem sets and homework and on the quiz or the exams, I would try to give you a different example, okay, with different numbers, different shape of the demand curves. So if you just simply memorize it, it's likely that sometimes you could screw it up. You could get confused. Okay. All right. use the economic reasoning, please.